in the interim.
Do you accept that much of that money, in fact, has not been able to get to the front line because of the NICS increases?
Well,
social care sits outside, so whilst local authorities have had some money flow down to them, it barely covers the NICS increases for those social care providers.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, thank you for raising Scunthorpe. We are in the middle of discussions, so I hope the committee will forgive me if I don't go through each of the fine detail, but I'm absolutely committed to steel production in this country. All of our plans are going to require infrastructure and more steel in this country, so the last thing we want to do is to lose our capacity on steel.
What unfolded in Parliament today wasn't just a debate, it was a blood sport. Keir Starmer, the man who always wears that unshakable polished mask, stood in the chamber like a statue until one relentless MP tore him apart. This wasn't scrutiny, this wasn't opposition, this was an execution. Starmer's composure cracked, his replies grew tighter, his voice thinner, and every evasion just dug the knife deeper. And the crowd, they felt it, the air turned electric. What did this MP expose? The kind of truth that leaves careers in ruins. By the end, Starmer wasn't just wounded, but he was gutted. This is politics at its most brutal. Watch every second before they try to bury it.
Money in, it's changing the way the state operates.
So we know about those, but is there anything that you're looking at other than what you've already put in place or planning to put in place? Result of last week? Oh
yeah, there's a whole host of things. I'm starting with the sectors that are most obviously impacted, because obviously we've got the 10% reciprocal tariff, but
Before we dive in, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe, because trust me, you do not want to miss this one. Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party, might want to update his CV and add Master of Deflection after what just happened in Parliament. One bold MP stepped up, armed with cold, hard facts, razor-sharp stats, and a tongue like a scalpel, and absolutely tore through Starmer's polished persona like a hot knife through butter. Starmer, who loves to play the adult in the room, got exposed for what he really is, just another cautious politician clinging to control while his party spins into chaos. But, make no mistake, this wasn't just a heated exchange, this was a full-blown roast. And Starmer was left scrambling like a student caught red-handed with the printer jammed and no homework in sight. Before we hit play, don't forget, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. Here's the clip.
Thank you, Prime Minister. So, following on from the question from Ms Owen in particular, thinking about those with disabilities, we had a round table, the Health and Social Care Committee, in this very room, and almost where I'm sat was a woman who described her experience of NHS and care, and the way she paraphrased it was, "The NHS keeps me alive."
Let's start with the basics. Keir Starmer, the so-called leader of the Labour Party. He's been parading around as the sensible alternative to the Tories, the man with the grand vision to lead Britain into a brighter future. But here's the truth. Starmer couldn't lead his way out of a paper bag, let alone steer an entire nation. So, what exactly is his vision? That's where things get murky. His policies, about as clear as a cloud on a windy day. He talks a big game, reforming the economy, standing up for the people, making things better. But peel back the layers and you're left with nothing but political word salad. Empty slogans, vague promises, and not a concrete idea in sight.
See social care as mainly a drain on the Treasury or as an enabler to the economy?
An enabler to the economy. My sister's a...
During the debate, one bold MP did not hold back. They came out, dismantled him piece by piece, calling out Starmer's glaring lack of a clear economic vision, a vacuum at the heart of his leadership that's left the country drifting. Where's the ambition? Where's the fire? Instead of a Labour Party ready to confront the challenges of the 21st century, what we've got is Tory light, a diluted, uninspired imitation. Starmer's Labour feels like a cheap knockoff. It talks the talk, but underneath it's all packaging and no substance. And this MP wasn't buying it. They went straight for the jugular, exposing Starmer's inability to make bold decisions, calling out his passive, risk-averse style that screams manager, not leader.
Possible in their lives and have fulfilled lives.
Well, I'm pleased to hear you say that, but then do you share my frustration that much of the sector feels as well, that 3 years, which then butts up any decision close to an election. Now, when we've had social care reforms be kiboshed in the past, it has been during election campaigns. Surely the way to solve this would be to get this done and dusted during this Parliament, not kick it into the long...
Let's talk about that policy proposal. Starmer loves to parade around the idea that social care is due for reform. Sound familiar? That's because we've heard it all before. Over and over he insists, we're working on it, as if saying the words is enough to make change happen. But like so many of his pledges, the reforms never quite show up. One MP cut through the noise, calling it what it really is, a smokescreen. All this chatter about reforming social care and the NHS, it's a distraction, temporary noise that skirts around the real issues at the core. And they didn't stop there. The MP dismantled Starmer's justifications for the endless delays, laying bare the lack of urgency and exposing his failure to take meaningful action.
Firstly, I understand your frustration that this has been pushed down the road too many times. The way I see it is this. One, we need to take time to get it right, and it needs to be cross-party. And Louise Casey is, in my view, the right person on a project like this. I've got huge experience working with Louise Casey. But that shouldn't stop us doing things straight away, to answer your question, which is why we made available £3.7 billion of additional funding for social care authorities in 25-26.
Let's take a moment to really absorb the sheer incompetence on display. Starmer's leadership hasn't just been cautious, it's been paralysed. Watching him navigate national issues is like watching someone try to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, slow, confused, and ultimately going nowhere. He keeps circling the same problems, grabbing at the wrong solutions, and failing to deliver every single time. His team lobs out half-baked policy ideas that sound polished in press releases but fall apart the moment they face the real world. Just look at his so-called vision for the economy. It's all noise, grand speeches, vague buzzwords, but no real substance. Starmer is like that kid in class who nods along, pretending he's read the book, but hasn't done the work. He's more focused on sounding clever than actually fixing anything.
I know this from firsthand. I mean, absolutely. It's about ensuring that people can live to their full potential.
The MP didn't just criticise Starmer, they obliterated him on the housing crisis. Another issue Starmer has proven utterly incapable of tackling. So, what's Labour's big solution to the skyrocketing cost of living and housing? Spoiler alert, Starmer doesn't have one. Instead, it's all vague promises and hollow measures. Meanwhile, working-class families are still left scrambling for affordable homes. And what's Starmer's solution? A few catchy slogans and policy platitudes that sound good at a rally, but pack no punch when it comes to actually solving the problem. The MP didn't hold back, pointing out that Starmer's failure to confront these issues head-on is exactly why the public is turning their backs on Labour. The party's too stuck in the middle, too busy trying to please everyone to actually get anything done.
A fair pay agreement for for adult social care, hugely important. All the analysis shows that we haven't got a sufficient workforce. It's a fragmented workforce, and that most people leaving social care are leaving social care to go to the NHS because they can get onto an integrated framework.
The classic Starmer move. Whenever confronted with tough questions, he resorts to deflecting, offering excuse after excuse and pointing fingers every single time. The MP tore into him for this, making it clear people are fed up with hearing excuses. Starmer won't take ownership. Instead, he shifts the blame, making it look like the system is just too broken to fix. What was his latest line? We need more time to reform, or let's wait until the next report comes out. In reality, Starmer's approach is nothing more than waiting for the next train, while the tracks are falling apart. The MP didn't mince words, calling out Starmer's political strategy for what it is, kicking the can down the road, hoping it'll fix itself. But guess what? Everyone's done waiting.
So, Prime Minister, how do you see the role of social care in our community and our economy?
Hugely. In its own right, and working alongside the NHS. And I think, like most people, I've long thought we ought to reform it, which is why
Starmer, the self-proclaimed reformer of the Labour Party, has practically turned reform into a punchline. He makes big promises, delivers polished speeches, and talks like he's leading a political revolution. But when it comes time to actually deliver, nothing. Starmer's idea of reform is like a New Year's resolution. Bold declarations in January, completely forgotten by February. This year, I'll change everything. And by March, it's as if none of it ever happened. His entire agenda is little more than a string of empty slogans designed to impress from a podium, but collapsing the moment they're tested in the real world. It's all performance, with no follow-through.
This isn't a game. Politics shouldn't be a hobby, a pastime for people who enjoy the feeling of power. And nor should it be a sermon from on high, a self-regarding lecture, vanity dressed up as virtue.
Let's start with Starmer's so-called reform of the NHS. Oh, he promised the world with this one. I'll fix the NHS. I'll slash waiting times. I'll boost funding. Sounds great on paper, right? But how does that actually play out? Well, Starmer's idea of NHS reform seems to be gathering all the right ideas, the ones that make him sound competent, like he's got a real plan, and then stuffing them into a drawer labelled later. The result? A party that talks big, but leaves the country facing the exact same bloody problems. Waiting lists are still a nightmare. Staff are still stretched to the brink. And the bold promises, they've quietly slipped into the background. Starmer's NHS reform strategy can be summed up in one line. We'll fix it. Not today, maybe not even this year, but soon. Promised.
Hear me when I say this. No more money without reform. I'm not prepared to see even more of your money spent on agency staff who cost £5,000 a shift, on appointment letters which arrive after the appointment, or on paying for people to be stuck in hospital just because they can't get the care they need in the community.
And then there's his so-called reform of education, yet another area where Starmer's promised everything and delivered precisely nothing. Sure, he talks a big game, more investment, closing the gap between rich and poor students, but turn on the news and what do you hear? Schools face record funding cuts, more closures on the horizon. And like clockwork, here comes Starmer's perfectly rehearsed, vaguely empathetic response. We're working on it. We're definitely working on it. Well, Keir, working on it, isn't cutting it anymore. For all the lofty rhetoric, parents and teachers are still staring down a school system in crisis, and a leader who looks like he's struggling just to hold it together. Starmer's education reform might as well come with a free pair of rose-tinted glasses, because the only way it looks like progress is if you're not seeing clearly.
Reforms, but they have also said this, that it needs significant additional investment will be needed for schools, that they need the more resource. So will you commit to more investment for schools and education ahead of the next general election to fulfil your mission beyond what you've already set out? Thank you.
Yeah, but the approach I've taken in this mission and all our missions is to set out the change that we need to make and why we need to make it.
Now let's imagine we create a Starmer's Reform Challenge segment. It would be like a game show, but instead of contestants winning fabulous prizes, they're just given a pile of broken promises. Cue the upbeat music as Starmer rolls out his latest reform idea with all the fanfare of a magician about to perform the greatest trick of all, only for the audience to be left wondering where the rabbit went in this segment. Every time Starmer announces a new reform, we'll show 2 weeks later results that make us laugh in disbelief. Funding cuts and overcrowded classrooms. But hey, we've got a plan. The audience will be rolling their eyes so hard they might give themselves a headache. Starmer's reforms are like promises made in a political fairy tale, where everyone gets what they want until they wake up and realise it was all a dream.
Additional funding, that's a huge uplift. It's 6.8% in cash terms, which
but the amount that's going to the independent social care providers is about 800 million to
880 million.
Indeed, to local authorities, which is about the bill for the next increase.
Well, look, I mean, it's a huge cash terms increase that's
which isn't actually going to deliver anything.
And here's the real kicker. Starmer keeps insisting that reform is just around the corner. But somehow that corner keeps getting further and further away. His entire agenda has become the political equivalent of a broken GPS. No matter which route he takes, it leads to the same dead end. So the next time Starmer rolls out another radical reform idea, don't buy the hype, because the MP didn't just highlight Starmer's failure to act. They called it what it is, a complete loss of direction. Starmer doesn't understand what people need. He doesn't hear what they're asking for. And more importantly, he doesn't know how to lead them. His speeches are stitched together from empty phrases, words meant to sound compassionate and thoughtful, but hollow when you scratch beneath the surface. The MP tore through that facade, exposing a leader who's lost touch with ordinary voters. People who aren't asking for platitudes, they're asking for leadership. Real, grounded, unapologetic leadership. And right now, Starmer's just not delivering.
Additional funding, that's a huge uplift. It's 6.8% in cash terms, which is...
But the amount that's going to the independent social care providers is about 800 million to...
880 million.
Indeed,
yeah,
to local authorities, which is about the bill for the next increase.
Well, look, I mean, it's a huge cash terms increase that's
which isn't actually going to deliver anything.
And let's not forget Starmer's favourite catch-all solution, economic growth. According to him, growth will solve everything, from housing to healthcare to education. But the MP cut straight through that illusion, exposing Starmer's obsession with growth for what it really is, a convenient buzzword to mask inaction. He keeps talking about getting the economy back on track. But what does that actually mean? Are we supposed to believe that repeating the phrase enough times will magically fix things? The MP wasn't buying it, and neither should we. Instead of offering clear, actionable steps, Starmer just rehashes the same tired slogans, hoping no one notices how hollow they've become. And the MP laid it out plainly. This isn't just about one bad decision or a single policy misfire. It's about a pattern, a repeated failure to lead, from the housing crisis to the social care collapse to the complete lack of any real vision for the future. Starmer hasn't just stumbled, he's failed. At every critical turn, he's been too weak, too hesitant, and too disconnected from the people he claims to represent.
Because we are currently looking at this as a committee, but are surprised to find that the government has barely looked at it from that lens. So perhaps an undertaking from you to look at it through that lens would help the Treasury to see what you and I clearly both see, which is that social care is worth investing in.
Yeah, I've always approached this on the basis that the health service and social care are important for physical, mental health and the support that people need throughout their lives, but they're also hugely important to the economy.
In the end, this wasn't just a grilling. It was a full-on dissection of Keir Starmer's leadership. The MP didn't just highlight a few flaws. They exposed the hollow core behind Starmer's carefully crafted political persona. Sure, Starmer might pretend he's the answer to the UK's problems, but after this debate, one thing's crystal clear. He is the problem. If he can't handle a straightforward debate without crumbling into a bundle of vague talking points and nervous deflections, how on earth is he supposed to lead a nation? The answer? He can't. And deep down, even he knows it. Starmer has proven again and again that he's all talk, no action. And if this performance is anything to go by, his time at the top is running out fast. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more breakdowns, real talk, and political analysis you won't hear anywhere else.